posterity. So here we go. So I'm going to start on with this slideshow. So I don't know how much anybody knows about Kitchen Social, but the Mayor's Fund for London have been working with a number of groups and some in Barnet looking at holiday hunger, and a number of us have been involved in it. We've also been in dialogue with the Department of Education about how do we support children and young people in the holidays access food and positive activities. The DfE have done a number of pilots over the last couple of years, and they've decided to roll it out this year, which they couldn't have picked a more difficult year to roll a new project out. But essentially, it starts at Easter. So we haven't found a name for it yet. We are going to look at whether some of our children and young people can name what we're going to call it here. Some people call it Fit and Fed. Some people call it Holiday Fun. I think they're going to ask some young people what to do. So essentially, the Holiday Activity Fund are to combat the stresses that are caused to families that may be on low income, with additional costs like childcare and additional food in the summer holidays. Earlier on, actually before COVID, we started doing a survey with some of our schools to ask them if they were finding food insecurity a problem during school time. And we had about 25 or 30 schools come back to us, and the majority of them said that they were having breakfast clubs and lunch clubs and all sorts of things, or after school clubs with food, because children were suffering food insecurity. So it is a bit of an issue, even in Barnet. I think it's an issue nationwide. So as I said, the Holiday Activity Fund is aimed at school children aged 5 to 16. They should be on free school meals, and that's the premise. But hold on one second. You can see, you're seeing the wrong screen. Hold on one second. You're seeing you guys. You're not seeing this one. 1 second. See, nobody told me. Right, so let me stop sharing. You're all very good not telling me that it was run the wrong way. Right, so I need to come out of that. I would have expected you, Gus, to let me know that the screen was round the wrong way. Right, so screen 1 is this one, and that's what I'm asking for. So that should be right. So now, what are you seeing, guys? Are you seeing my presentation? Yes, brilliant. Okay, so you're not seeing my presentation now, are you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Are you seeing the whole presentation? Or are you just seeing?
I think it's in the presentation view. So we can see the next page as well.
Okay.
And your notes as well. So
yeah, that's fine. Now, what are you seeing? Oh, you're seeing my notes as well. Sorry, for some reason it's not playing ball. Right, now we have it.
Yeah.
So apologies for that, but we will continue nevertheless. So how far have we got? So it's aimed at children between 5 and 16 years of age. They should primarily be children on free school meals, but because we're targeting areas of food insecurity and deprivation, then it will be we're not going to turn young people away or children away that are suffering, we know to be suffering food poverty or food insecurity. So we are here to support as many children as we can. Obviously, there is a certain pot to go around. the Department for Education have decided that it will be, this is the delivery format. So over Easter, it will be 4 hours, 4 days over 1 week. The summer, which we won't go into too much detail because Easter's just around the corner and we need to get that up and running, but the summer will be 4 hours, 4 days, 4 weeks. And then at Christmas, it will be back to the 1 week format again. It will have to be delivered in, so they haven't given any allowance for October. So it's just these weeks that they've identified. So it will have to be, whatever delivery is run will have to be in conjunction with the guidance, the COVID guidance. So we have sent information around already about the NYA guidance, which they're running a seminar on Monday afternoon. And for any of you that are working closely with children and young people and delivering services, it would be well worth you signing up to that. So it is based around positive activities. A lot of you have been doing this already. So it will be, it could be putting on a play, it could be junk modeling, it could be music, it could be nature walk, but it's 4 hours of activity with lunch, and that can be breakfast, lunch or evening meal. There will be nutritional guidelines. Again, that will be in the information pack that we send out. And there will be some signposting for parents, but again, what Young Barnet are doing, we're trying to work with a local authority to get all of that information and to also see how partners can support you in delivering some of this, which again I think will be really valuable for families. So the minimum standards of delivery is healthy food, enriching activities, physical activity, and nutritional education. So the nutritional education could be that you have a session with young people about food and nutrition. Again, we will try and support you by getting information from public health or a provider to deliver that for you. So nothing's written in stone at the moment because we were waiting for guidelines from the DFE, but the other crucial bit is that you will have the relevant policies and procedures in place, which I'm sure you all do as you're all old hands at this. The programme outcomes, quite simple: eat more healthily, be more active, take part in engaging, enriching activities, be safe and not isolated, have a greater knowledge of health and nutrition. We do need to consider how we're inclusive and we look at accessibility for children with SEND. Again, the minimum standards, it's the usual things: the safeguarding, the health and safety, the relevant insurance, which I'm waiting for the amounts, but I'm sure it's no different to what we normally ask for. But that again, we will check and get that out to you. So where appropriate, clubs must also be compliant with Ofsted requirements, and Ofsted requirements would be for the under 8s and for more than 2 hours delivery. But what we've talked to about the council, if you were to run a session for under 8s and you have all of the relevant other policies and procedures in place and safeguarding, etc., then we could look at maybe doing 2-hour sessions over 4 days or over 8 days rather than 4 sessions over 4 days. Does that make sense? So the priorities for Barnet is go to the areas that are the highest predicted need, be creative and enriching in the programs that we offer children and young people, and deliver engaging food education. Again, we are working with public health to come up with some ideas that can support you on the ground if you're not used to delivering the food element. So the proposed funding format, Easter was we were primarily looking at online delivery because we didn't know what the government was going to say. And the DFE agreed to that. But I think everything has changed with Boris's announcement on Monday, so we can actually do face-to-face, and I think our children would welcome face-to-face. So I have spoken to the local authority, and as long as it's in areas of need and we're reaching the children and young people that we need to reach, it can be face-to-face. It has to be NYA compliant and COVID compliant, obviously. So if you can do some online delivery, there will be a cost per hour, and food will be supported from external partners. If you can deliver face-to-face 4-hour delivery, it's £9 per child per day. And we've upped it from the minimum, so we've tried to make it as friendly as possible in terms of funding coming in. Obviously, Steve at the Rainbow Centre, they delivered the holiday activity fund last year as part of the Mayor's Fund for London, and they operated on the £9 per child per day amount, and it seemed to do okay. Steve's model, and forgive me for talking about your model, but it's a very good model in that they have a core staff team of paid staff, and they also have volunteers that support them. So they have about 40 volunteers that take it in turns to come and support their delivery. Again, something that we'll look to do in the background, if people need volunteers, that we will look to recruit and train volunteers and then pass them over to you, or work with you to recruit volunteers. If you can't do food, then we are looking at what options we could do to support you in that. And we've deducted about £1.80 per child. That could be slightly less or slightly more. We've gone out to providers to give us a price for food. We were primarily thinking about Easter, and if it was online, we were going to do a healthy packed lunch that children would have to pick up from a set area. So if it's in Graham Park, they could pick up from Fuse, or they could pick up from CCT or wherever. So as you can imagine, it's a big logistical nightmare to get all of this up and running. But we need as many community groups as possible to take part in it. So some of the training and support that we'll offer as Young Barnet will be looking at the groups that need extra support around nutrition. If you're recruiting volunteers, we may look at training, which we did for Steve, around challenging behaviour. We got their volunteers through just a 3-hour course of challenging behaviour, because some of the volunteers perhaps are older and hadn't worked with children for a number of years. So just giving them the tools to be able to work with children was really helpful. So we have got confirmed already 1-day course, 2 afternoons, and a 2-day course, which is over 4 half days of mental health first aid training. So we will be bringing that all to you in June, early July, prior to the summer delivery. And it is a case of trying to speak to local partners to see what we can get free, because we want to try and get as much money to you guys to do the front-facing delivery as possible. So, as you will be no doubt aware, this is the helicopter view of Barnet. I will be sending you out a criteria pack as soon as it's okayed by the local authority, which I'm hoping will be Monday, as well as the space to grow details. So instead of going through a commissioning process with the council, which some of you will recognise that can be quite challenging for small organisations, we are going to do it through Space to Grow. So there will be an application form, and you will tell us how many young people you are supporting, whether you'll do food or no food, and it will calculate how much of funding that you would get for that. The darker areas are obviously the more areas of need, but that's not rocket science to any of us that know Barnet very well. Again, this is exactly the same in terms of a heat map and where free school meals are, but we will be sending you out the pack, which will have all of this information in. So the bigger the dot and the darker the dot, the more free school meals there are. The highest free school meals are London Academy and Hendon School. But we'll give you a breakdown of the other schools. This partnership can be with schools. So if any of you are working with schools and want to do the under 8s, then it will be covered by their Ofsted. It is about how you can work together to deliver services. So whether that's school or the council or the voluntary sector, we need to reach as many young people as we can. In other boroughs, the take up was about 50% of those entitled to free school meals. Well, we've got nearly 10,000 young people in Barnet that are entitled to free school meals. Year 1 and 2 get free school meals anyway as part of the government plan. So some of them wouldn't take it up and would have other means. So we don't know how many young people are going to apply, and we don't know how many we're going to deliver to. We just know that we have to start somewhere. So over the next week, there will be a central booking form that parents will need to book on and register their children, because we will have to work out which groups are delivering what and how much food is needed. Yeah. It's going to be a challenge, but it's about knowing the numbers. But for those of you who work regularly with a group of children or young people, then it is about, your children, young people, we will send you a link, you will send it to them, they book on, and then they can be allocated. So it's more to let the local authority know how many young people are engaging on the ground. Again, so Easter, if you want to deliver online, what can you deliver? 1 or 2 hour workshops? What's the likely cost per hour? I do think the local authority will come back and say it's X amount per hour for online delivery, because they have to find a ballpark that works for everybody. And whether it's a school, a private provider, or a voluntary sector group, you should all be getting the same amount of money. So it will be £9 per head per child per 4 hours, whether you're a business or whether you're a voluntary sector group or whether you're a school. And that's fair, because it shouldn't be that other organizations or other groups charge more because they're a business. So, if activity packs are needed to support whatever you're delivering, for instance, if it was a cook along and you need it to deliver food, again, it's to think about what does that look like. The targeted face-to-face work, we had originally said it would be for anyone in that digitally excluded, overcrowded homes or vulnerable. But if we're delivering in the areas of need and we know our cohort, then I think the people in this room will absolutely know who it needs to be delivered to. We will need to think about food and food hygiene certificates, but they are available online. And again, we can let people know what that looks like. It could be a breakfast club, it could be a lunch club, it could be a twilight zone, thinking of the older age group. So the 14 to 16, you could do starting at 5 o'clock, finishing at 8 with a supper, or, do you know what I mean? It is about thinking about things slightly differently. So again, I said it could be flexible. So it's 4 hours delivery per child per day. But if you wanted to do 2 hours over 8 days, then it's down to you and your proposal and what that would look like. But the amount of money doesn't change. But I would say it makes it more complicated in terms of food, because your food allowance is already in there. And it would, instead of being £1.80 a head, it would be 90p a head per child per week, or per session. Time is short. We need to get the applications in. We're ready to go on Space to Grow as soon as the council approve the format, which I think they're 99.9% there. We're not going to make it long-winded. And if you apply for the Easter and you want to deliver in the summer, this is only going to be for Easter delivery, then we're not going to ask you to fill in all of the details again. If you filled it in the first time round and you provided all the documentation, you'll be able to tick a box, and Ben will be able to see that we've already got your documents. We want to make it as easy as possible, but this is government funding and the government will expect information back from us. So there is monitoring and evaluation. The main things they want are the name of the child, the school they go to. They do want a school number, a roll number, which we're working with the department, with the educational services, to find out how we get that readily, and whether parents, if schools can give it to parents and they can do it when they log on. I know it sounds complicated, but we're trying to get that bridge crossed without it affecting you guys too much. So we will need to do some due diligence in terms of making sure that people have food safety certificates and they're aware of allergens and all those things, because it is government funding again. And we will have to advertise and recruit young people to come on the sessions. So again, I'm now going to open the floor to questions, because and if you don't ask questions, I will pick on you, because I know there will be people that won't ask, but I will pick on. So is anyone going to put their hand up and ask any questions that they may have? And I will stop sharing the screen. Has nobody got any questions? Gus, there you go.
Always me, isn't it?
That's all right.
It was working out how the numbers work, really, and checking this is not one of those government things where, you know, you set up your scheme for 30 people, but if only 10 turn up on the day, you're going to get paid for the 10 that turn up. So it's working out how we decide on the number, where the, you know, what the need is in our area, what number, and then are we paid for the number is set up, or the number is booked, or the number is attended.
So we have been told that there is no clawback, because we don't know what this will look like, but we will also be mindful that what you are capable of running and what the NYA guidance stands for. So if they're saying it has to be in bubbles of 15, then we're not going to say, all right, Gus, you can take 90. Do you know what I mean? So it does have to be based on a sensible estimate. We did talk about whether we would cap the number of children that organisations apply for, but then again, some of the bigger organisations might run 3 or 4 different sessions in 3 or 4 different areas. So we're open to conversations. We want to make it happen. We want to get you the funding to make it happen. So we're flexible and we want to work with you. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you.
Brilliant. Hope.
Oh, hi. It's
Hi,
nice
Hope.
yeah. I heard that people can pick up food from Fuse or from CCT, and
No,
living where ministries is left out.
No, it's not. We haven't mapped anything, Hope, yet. This is just a conversation. So if there is online activities, we have to find somewhere for if it's not face-to-face and the kids come on Graham Park, but they live in Graham Park and they want to access some of the council's online activities, we have to find localities to take food. So Andy from Fairways is actually looking at he's looking at that for me, because we can't do everything. So Andy's looking at locations in each area, but it could be if Fuse are doing an online session that their young people come and pick food up from them. So it all depends what you're delivering and what the need is in the area. We can't have 3 or 4 locations in the one locality, because bearing in mind whoever's doing the food, the sandwiches for the online activity, not for face-to-face. If it's face-to-face, we want you guys to do your own food, because that makes it so much easier. But for face-to-face delivery, your own food. For online delivery, the kids are still entitled to a lunch or a dinner or whatever that is. We can't deliver hot meals because we don't have the infrastructure to do that. I say we, I'm not cooking any of this, but we have to find a way of getting food to young people. So the easiest way was to do a packed lunch and for there to be pick-up points. I think ideally they could be schools or they could be community groups. We don't know what the answer to that is yet. We're still mapping it. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm just concerned that we seem to have been ostracized because that living way is the first children and young people's activity on this estate and the only food premises. And to think that we could not just be mentioned as one of the two when CCT was locked down and locked. And if children had to pick food from CCT, they would be outside looking at at the shutters.
You are not ostracized. You are very much included. This is a case of, they were the first two that came to my head because Fuse has delivered food projects and applied for funding for us to do it. So they delivered in August. So nobody's excluded. The whole point is bringing you all together to see who can do what. There are some groups that might not want to do face-to-face and might not want to do like the 4 hours, but it could be, and I'm pointing at you, Andy. Andy does some great work on the digital side of things, and he might want to work with one of you to deliver in partnership. So the whole point is just to get you all talking. So nobody's excluded. The ideas, whatever you can do, the Space to Grow will be open, and then there will be a panel from the council and others to decide which groups they fund. The way I see it, we need to get as many needed areas as possible, so everybody has a cohort they work with.
Thank you.
Brilliant, Hope. Thank you. Janine.
Hi, Jan. I was just thinking, so that money per head, is that to spend on food or is that to spend on the whole programme?
It's the whole programme.
Okay, because there's some people here I can see that have access to free food. So will those kind of, like the Felix Project, people like that, will we have access to get some of their surplus to make our things more, cost effective, as it were?
To be honest, we don't know. The thing is, the food hub in East Barnet, which we're sort of strategically part of, we don't know how much food we get in. We're currently giving food to about 17 food banks across Barnet. If there's surpluses, then we can make them available, but we can't say in advance that those foods, because that's an add-on. So I think with a number of groups, they use food from lots of different sources, and there is also, and although it won't be available for Easter, but the John Lyon Shaft funding, and I know you have to be a charity to apply for that, but you can also apply for that. John Lyons know what we're doing and we've talked to them, and that can complement some of your delivery. So it could be the food element, it could be days out, it could be, all of those other things. We will, of course, work with you if we can get more food to you, but we can't promise that in there.
Yeah, I forgot about them. We ran a food holiday hunger program back 2 years ago. And we went through them. So that's a good thing to think about.
Yeah, so brilliant. Has anyone else got any questions? Ash?
I didn't have a question, just following what you were sharing, and I thought I might just add a bit of spice to the conversation, is that we at Pro Touch have been quite blessed to run holiday hunger programs across multiple boroughs. And we've done a lot of work with the Mayor's Office and Social Kitchen last year in Lambeth and Southwark, which was really popular. So we learned a lot. So one of the things that some of the organisation might be aware that they cannot provide hot meals or don't have the facility. You're working in remote places such as sports facilities or just outdoor spaces. There are catering companies that the Social Kitchen have appointed, a company called Tufnell. I'll share that.
Ash, that will be in locality areas. So it will be down for the partnership in Barnet to find a food provider in Barnet.
Okay, I didn't know that, but
yeah, it will be per area.
So Tufnell don't supply to the whole of.
No. So Kitchen Social, although they're going to be a partner because they're going to supply stuff, some of their learning and some of their recipe cards and things like that, they'll be a partner, but they're not delivering. Each borough, every single London borough has this challenge. Every single London borough has holiday activity fund. So I should imagine those food providers will be very busy doing the boroughs that they normally do. And we are looking at food providers to see where we can get food from for Barnet. That's another project.
Okay, interestingly enough, maybe they've done us a personal favor. I don't want to get anyone into trouble, but they delivered food parcel for us for our Westminster program during February half term.
Yeah,
maybe that was an exception they made, but that might be something that you can speak to.
I think it's down to each borough to form their relationships, and by all means put them in touch with me, because if they can provide food, then we're interested in talking to them. But I think every single borough is going to have this issue, and I think the mayors or the DfE have said where possible it has to be a cooked lunch. Where it can't be a cooked lunch, it can be a healthy packed lunch.
That's what
so I think in terms of providers that are working in remote places or sports, then it can be a healthy packed lunch
that we
can give. And if that's the case, we're working with a couple of food providers to see what they can provide for the amount of money that we have for a healthy packed lunch. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? Hi, yes, Agabaka, over to you. You're on mute, sorry.
Sorry, 2 questions. One is the age limit.
It's 5 to 16.
Okay, and can you do 2 sessions a day in case you do that?
As long
PM
as
and AM.
You could do 2 sessions a day as long as it's 4 hours, including a meal. So you could do 9:30 till whatever time and have lunch, and then you could do a late session and have tea, if you know what I mean, or dinner.
That's fine, thanks.
Yeah. Has anyone else got any questions? Gus?
Just wondering, first, well, a couple of questions, but the first is if there's an idea of the actual number, so say for Easter, but is there an idea of the actual total number across the borough?
So there's about between 9,000 and 10,000 children that are entitled to free school meals. Because some schools they all don't use the same providers, it's actually very difficult because some are academy chains that we don't have all of the information. So we are trying to get that information, but it is between 9,000 and 10,000. If we were to go by other boroughs, 50% are the ones that need free school meals, because sometimes if you get free school meals, it could be for another reason. It may not be food poverty, not income. It could be for another reason, and therefore some parents don't take up the activity and the food because they have their own resources. So in other boroughs, so Southwark and Lambeth that did it last year, 50% of the 50% that did turn up. So we're talking between 2,000 and 3,000 children at least. But I think there'll probably be more in the summer with the face-to-face, because we'll have more time to lead into that program than we will have for the Easter.
And the second question, I mean, I assume I kind of know the answer to this, but I assume we can choose to do any of the ages within that age range, because I know obviously
if you do 5 to 8, if you do 5 to 8, then Ofsted applies if you do it for the 4 hours. But if you did a 2-hour session over 2 weeks, you could still do it and Ofsted wouldn't apply. And Ofsted only if you do 2 activities or less, Ofsted doesn't apply. So for sports activities or arts or drama, it doesn't apply. If you're doing a multi-sport or a multi-delivery, then Ofsted applies. It's complicated. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi Jan. I'm Ibrahim from Howard.
Hi Ibrahim.
In Graham Park. I think I heard about the forms. There's a link that the parents need to fill, and also the centers have to complete an application form. So I wasn't very clear who is supposed to apply for this.
So the council have to record every child. The council have to get an idea of numbers. So what they have said that they will have a central booking form that parents need to book on to. And I know it's complicated, guys, but because it's DfE funding, they want it done in a certain way. So the parents would have to register. I've asked for that booking form to be available from next week. And they've told me that it will. So we will send you all a link, whether you're going to take part in Easter or not, you can still send it out to your families. So we'll send you a link for the parents to register. To apply for funding, we've, instead of going through the council and their commissioning process, we've been allocated funding for you to come through Space to Grow. So it will be a short application form online, and then we will have to follow up with the due diligence that is expected from the DFE. So whatever we ask for is really going to be what they've asked us to ask for. And it just sort of eases things rather than everything going through the council. There is a split. Now, we are going to be having a workshop with schools to see what schools want to do this provision, because we have got a gap within the voluntary sector for 5 to 8 year olds because of the Ofsted rules. So we are going to be speaking to schools, but if schools say, well, you can have my premises, but I don't want to deliver, then we will let you guys know. So perhaps you can then join up with the schools and do some of that delivery. I mean, to be honest, it's a huge jigsaw puzzle. And us here today are part of that jigsaw puzzle, but there is the food element, there's the booking element, there's the reporting element, there's loads of elements to this. We could do with 6 months to plan it. We haven't got 6 months because all of the, the information has been coming through in dribs and drabs, and we're now in the position to move forward as we think we should.
Okay,
Susie, thanks, Ibrahim.
Is there eligibility form for the parents for them to qualify for the service?
Say that again. Sorry, who's asking? Oh, sorry.
I mean, is there eligibility form for the parents for them to bring their children to the centre? Is there any particular
free school meals?
They need to fill?
So the eligibility is free school meals, and they have to be Barnet children. So there will be a school roll number, but we don't know. I mean, the DFE have put that on as part of their monitoring requirements, but we don't know how us as the voluntary sector access that. So the council have gone away to speak to their educational side to find that out. Does that make sense? So I will bring you more information, but I think we need to get on with it in order to get the funding, and then we will try and figure out all of the back end stuff that that may not stop it happening, but that's getting in the way. So we're still working out the detail, but I don't want to come to you the week before Easter and say, I've got funding, guys, can you deliver? You need to plan. So that's why we're doing it now. Susie, did you want to come in?
Yeah, please. Can you just tell me, does it have to be Monday to Friday, or can it go over a weekend as well?
To be honest, I don't think there isn't anything in the criteria that says it needs to be over a set period. They've just said over the holidays.
Yeah. I don't know what Faith's building is.
Oh, I can send it round for anybody who wants. Put it in the chat. Whoever wants details of Faith's building. Is that all right, Faith, if I send it round to everyone?
Definitely.
Brilliant. She's got a lovely building up near QE Boys School, and it has got computer rooms and games rooms and all sorts of things to deliver services. And I think she'll be more than happy when it's not being used for its purpose, which is to support disabled people over the age of 18, but it's still child friendly from the age groups that we're talking about.
Jan?
Yes, who's that?
Barbara.
Hello, Barbara.
How do you envisage an organisation like ours, which has already got an Easter programme that will probably be delivered,
but you know what you could do,
welcoming
Barbara?
children in under this scheme as an inclusive kind of...
Yeah, so what you could do is you could say to us, we can offer 10 extra spaces for children, free spaces for children on free school meals. So if you're delivering something that's a charge for service, etc., then as long as you have capacity, you can say, well, actually, you can go on the council, because the council will have to put together almost like a menu of services of what you guys are delivering. So it can be advertised to people in the community. And I think if you can say, we run this anyway, but we can offer 5, 10 or whatever places for this age group on free school meals, then you could apply just for that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
We work with the council. We didn't last year because everything was so peculiar. But for years and years and years, we've had a load of referrals in the school holidays, particularly summer holiday, for children who are vulnerable or, you know, having difficulties in crisis, family crisis. And on the same sort of basis that they've said, how many children can you take on? And we'll say X, and they'll send them and pay for them and all the rest of it. And I was thinking that we might be able to do this at Easter time on that sort of basis.
Yeah. I have got another
how many children we could safely take on.
Absolutely. I have got another little bit of information I'm going to throw at you, but I don't want you to worry about it. The Department of Education have also mentioned summer schools, and they're going to be throwing money at schools to deliver summer schools, but the
catch up for children.
The catch up. But the schools don't have to deliver them. So we're also having conversations with schools about how do they use the voluntary sector to prop up their delivery, because it can be catch up, but it's also about enrichment activities. It's from the same department, so I'm a little bit confused why the right hand and the left hand, but we'll work through it because we have to.
Normally in the summer holidays, we only are open for 4 weeks. We usually have 2 weeks or 2 part weeks either side, you know, so it would be possible perhaps to do some extra or different stuff in the blank weeks that otherwise, you know, would be there.
Yeah. So the NYA guidance, they have got a webinar on Monday, which Sarah will be going to on behalf of us, and we'll send round the information or put it on our closed Facebook page. So if you're not a member, please get on there, because it is about your sharing space, and she'll put the information on there about delivery. Hakan, sorry, I knew someone had their hand up and then I couldn't see it.
Just to clarify, so we need to make an application to Space to Grow with estimated numbers.
Yeah.
And then we will promote to the schools and the families that we link to, and they will apply to central.
So two things. The Space to Grow is almost like it will happen over here. The council are going to give us a link for parents to advertise their session, or to advertise sign up. So the parents will sign up with the council, but you can then share that link with your parents, and then when the activities are confirmed, they then just book on through you.
So that link will be specific to us. So it will identify where.
Not really, because we need to get it advertised to parents now, because we need to get parents to sign up. So but we haven't agreed Space to Grow yet, so we don't know who's going to be delivering. So we can't put. So what happens is the parents will link. They will then be sent all of the projects that are available near their area. So what you then need to do, if you're successful in Space to Grow, just let your parents know that this is available through you. But it has to be the free school meals children, or, do you know what I mean, in a deprived area.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, actually. If we are already Ofsted registered childcare centre,
then you can do the 5 to 8 year olds.
So we don't need anything else actually to meet the criteria. Okay.
No, brilliant. I'm going to go to Ed, and then I'm going to go, I'm not sure who it is, but she's got a hand up. So I'm going to go to Ed first, and then I'll come to ACAS Group. So Ed.
Hi. So I think we've applied for a similar pot of funding from the Department of Education with Hertfordshire as well to run a simultaneous programme. Were there any issues with us applying for this one as well as the...
As long as you have the capacity to deliver, then no.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as long as you have the capacity to deliver in Barnet, that's absolutely fine. So I don't know who's behind the ACAS group.
Oh, that's me, Angie.
Hi,
Angie's Keep Calm and
Angie.
Sing group.
Do
Hi.
you know what? I didn't recognise you. I was thinking, I know that face. Is you, isn't it?
That is me, but it's
That is
more a showy kind of.
It's a glammed up version, isn't it?
Glammed up, yeah. When I do my gigs, this is a great idea. So ACAS stands for Angie's Keep Calm and Sing group. I wasn't thinking of doing something in Easter, but summer. Yeah. Would that be okay? Relevant to
listen, whether you get involved at Easter or whether you get in summer, it will be two different applications. If we had more time, we probably would have done it for the year, and you would have delivered an Easter, Christmas, or summer and Christmas. But because of the way it's happened, we can't do that. So we have to get Easter out of the way. It then gives us more time to think about summer. But we will be launching the Space to Grow summer one fairly soon, because we want you to know that you have the funding, so you know that you can deliver. So Ben, I'm not sure on our timelines, but it will be in March sometime that we will be delivering the next.
Yeah, we're hoping for March, possibly
early
April. But hi Angie. That's, I think, looking at it, I think that's dependent a bit on some of the other
Easter
issues and on how the Easter thing goes.
Yeah.
But we would certainly, the latest, we'd be looking to launch it very soon after the Easter break.
Yeah.
If that needed to be.
Because
we want to run them almost simultaneously, because we want to give people as much time as possible. But yeah, we also want to give people enough time to go away and think and plan. So yeah,
that's what I'll do for summer. I think I'll just gather all the information.
That's absolutely fine.
Thank you.
That's absolutely fine. And Angie, if you want to work with a group, then get in touch with us, and we can always put you in touch with somebody that you can work with.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Brilliant. Has anyone else got any questions? Hakan, is that a historical hand, or is it I think it might be historical, and Angie's is historical. Has anyone else got any questions? Gus?
Sorry, me again.
That's all right.
It's just, I guess, I'm not sure if this is a question as such, as just checking some understanding and kind of prompting something that maybe we need to know. I'm just thinking ahead. Let's just say, we put in for 20 people, and then we wait for those people to be referred in. We hold those 20 places. And if we get closer to the time and those 20 places are not filled, it would be good to have an understanding, maybe close to the time, if there is a point where we can still use those places for someone, and we're not just kind of running a club that's half full because the wider system hasn't worked.
So the DfE have said, if you run it in an area of need, that known to be an area of need, that they predominantly want free school meal children, but if a few other children come, they're not going to turn the children away. So for instance, if we run it on Graham Park, then we know it's a deprived area, we know that they need support, and we know that they have very little access to other activities outside what our community groups provide. So they're not going to, I don't think they can be too judgmental. I think they had quite clearly said, it's aimed at children on free school meals, and we have to do everything we can to get children on free school meals, the information, and get them to sign up. But they're not going to have empty courses either.
But I mean, it's not the case that, so if we've said 20 people, then we've got 20 places sitting on our system. So if we accept 10 kids local who we know have need, then potentially we just have 30 kids turning up, but only funding for 20.
I don't know how it will work if you, and I need to ask that question. But the thing is, it also depends on the NYA guidelines. So how many you can have in a bubble. So it could be if you had 2 bubbles of 15 plus youth workers or whatever, that's fine. But if you only had sort of 1 bubble and you then said you had 40 kids, the council probably wouldn't be too happy with that, nor would they. But I will ask, if you booked on for 20 and you could deliver 30, then what happens if an extra 10 kids turn up? I will ask the question, and I will try and put that in the guidance. Susie.
Right. Is this just for, are we just looking at children that are in the borough of Barnet?
Yes.
Right.
Every borough have their own funding, so we can't fund kids outside so it's going to school, living or going to school in Barnet. Anyone else?
How about working in Barnet, as a parents working in Barnet?
Not so much. In the children need to be connected to the borough because they will be asking for the school roll number and what school they attend. So it's the kids that are living, if they're living and they have a postcode in Barnet, but are going to school just outside of Barnet, I think that's acceptable, but I think with parents it will be slightly different. But I can check. Anyone else for any more while I'm on a roll? Hi. You're on mute.
And I was going to ask you, if the children come attend us, they come 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon.
As
how is it going to work?
As long as they get food,
Yeah.
it's still £9 a day for 4 hours delivery.
Thank you.
So if you did, but it has to be the same child. So
That's
you couldn't do 2 different age groups because it would have to be 4 and 4. Each child is 4 hours delivery, £9.
Oh, I think you misunderstood me. I mean, if the child comes 8 in the morning and they leave 11 o'clock, for example, I mean, they come 9 o'clock and they leave 11 o'clock. And then the other group, they come 12 o'clock and they leave 2 o'clock. They're 2 different groups, I mean.
If it's 2 different groups, they have to be 4 hours activity unless you do it over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So if you did it over the whole of the Easter holiday,
yeah,
then each child has to come for an equivalent of 16 hours.
A week.
Oh, over the 2 weeks.
Oh, 2
so
weeks.
Because
Okay.
Easter is they're only paying for delivery for 4 days, 4 hours, 4 days for 1 week. So if you were to spread it over 2 weeks, then it would be 2 hours over 8 days for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's the same money.
Yeah. At the moment we're dealing, the children that we deal, they come in Saturdays, Sundays.
Yeah.
And they come 4 hours a week. I mean, they come Saturday, Sunday. They come, for example, Saturday morning, they come in 2 hours, and then Sunday morning, they come in 2 hours. And the other group is the same time, but it's late hours. So that's what I'm talking about, for example.
Yeah. But it just needs to make up to the same hours. But I think the council would find, because the council will be on the panel, if it's something that's run regularly, they might challenge it. If it's something that's extra, then that's what they're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, that's been an interesting discussion. Has anyone else got any more queries? No? Well, listen, it's Friday afternoon. We're 3 minutes before we were due to finish, and that's good. We don't have all the answers yet, but we're 99% there, she says, hopefully. We do need to look at food, and we do need to look at drop-off points and all of those things. But the closer we get to Easter, the more that the ducks will fall into a row. But what I'm saying to you, I mean, can I have an indication in show of hands who would be looking to do face-to-face delivery at Easter? So it's the majority of you. How about you, Ibrahim? Right, okay. So I think it's the majority of you that would be looking to run at Easter. Is that that's face-to-face? Is anyone looking at doing online activity? No? Hope, you're delivering at Easter, aren't you?
Yeah, we're doing both.
You're doing face-to-face and online?
Yes.
Right, okay. Anyone else doing online? Right. Andreas, have a separate conversation with me, because the council have got a load of providers that are delivering online. So I want to make sure that you fit into what their gaps, because I don't want you applying for something if they've already sourced it. Does that make sense?
I don't think we'll apply. We'll deliver online, but I don't think this is for us.
No, but even if you deliver online, you can still charge for for doing that if you're delivering to Barnet kids?
Yeah, but it's the age range that's our problem. They're quite young.
You would want to do more than 16?
Yeah.
Right, okay. No, unfortunately, I thought it would go up to 18, but I'm disappointed that it's only going up to 16. But that's the way they've picked it, because children that attend, or young people that attend college still suffer food poverty as well. Which maybe we can. Yeah, I don't think we can do anything for the DFE, but we can certainly look at what else we can do if there's any other funding round. But it's a bit late for that. Guys, listen, thank you for your time, and listen, apologies again that this, it's a Friday afternoon, and I'm, but this is an opportunity, I think, to get as much activity to our children and young people. If you're not working with a cohort of young people, you don't have a ready-made cohort, then speak to us, because that will be crucial to if you deliver at Easter and you don't get the cohort, then it will make it weaker for the summer. So let's try and see, excuse me, if we can match you up with anyone that you need to match up with. Hope, is that a historic hand, or is it, they call it
no. Oh yeah, it is historic.
It's a historic hand. The Zen project, you're smiling. Are you going to ask a question, or is it you're not? Okay.
No, I wasn't going to. No,
I
was just smiling.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you all for your attendance. And we just need to try and get this over the line so we can get funding out to you and get some really cracking projects delivered for children and young people. So any questions, get back to me. I will be sending out another newsletter next week with the information about this, the criteria, and some more maps about free school meals and the different schools that have got issues. And I hope you've got a great relationship with Orion School. It would be good to know what Orion are doing in terms of how they could feed into this. But we are having a schools meeting, but I don't know if Orion has, but do tell them about it. And if they need any information, they can get in touch.
Okay.
Brilliant. Guys, have a lovely weekend. Thank you all for coming along. I will get the information out, and we will make the application form as short as we can. And if, as I said, if you deliver an Easter and you've submitted documents, then that would be that would see you right for summer, as long as your insurance is still in place. So thank you very much for your time, and have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. That's a lovely Christmas tree. Alero, is that your house? Oh, I've missed them. Anyway, nice to see you, Barbara. Nice to see you, Andreas. Speak soon.